Welcome, everyone, to Active Prospects Lead Gen Perspective webinar, Building the Right Social Lead Gen Strategy, From Click to Conversion. We're excited to have you with us today. I am Andrew Bailey, a content strategist here at Active Prospects, and I'm fired up to be back moderating for you once again. But before we jump into the action, let's go over some quick housekeeping notes. On the right of your screen, you'll see two icons. One says chat, the other says questions. The chat icon is for reactions and general comments, and we highly encourage your participation. The chat helps bring these webinars to life. And after all, this is a webinar around social media. So let's be social. And most importantly to note, I'm going to pin a comment in the chat here for anyone who would like to continue this conversation for after the webinar. The questions icon is where you'll submit any questions you have for our three expert panelists. We'll try to address some periodically, but rest assured we have saved some time for a Q&A at the end. Also, we'll be tossing a few polls your way to help steer our conversation. And if for any reason you have to drop off the webinar early, have no fear, a recording will be sent your way tomorrow. Now let's meet the experts everyone is here to see. Gabe, Ryan, Emma, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Emma Bernstein and I lead our media and growth team here at Active Prospect. We help marketers scale their lead gen profitably and stay compliant.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Ryan Cathers. I oversee Leads.io's new business in North America. For those unfamiliar with Leads.io, we're a performance marketing agency specializing in social and native platforms.
Hey, everybody. My name is Gabe Piacentini. I am the business development lead for our lead gen business here at Snapchat. Despite my name tag, everything's Emma.
Yeah, we had some issues with that earlier. Earlier, Emma was Gabe, and now Gabe is Emma. So who knows what's going on with that? Thank you for those intros, everyone. Let's get started with a quick poll question today. First off, where does social media currently rank in your lead generation mix? Primary channel, secondary channel, emerging but not core. It's not really a focus today. Please get your votes in now, and we'll circle back to the results shortly. But while people are voting, Gabe, let's start here this afternoon. How are advertisers balancing brand building with performance-driven campaigns on Snapchat? And what shifts have you seen in how they approach the full funnel?
Great question. And I think it's really important because a lot of people don't think of Snapchat as being really a lower funnel lead gen platform. And I think that comes for two reasons. One, audience, and two, solutions. But the reality is that those two reasons are why Snap is actually a very good lower funnel lead gen platform, and why we're actually seeing big shifts from upper funnel into full lower funnel campaigns. Specifically, those two items with the audience being Snapchat's size. I think we're undercredited in terms of how big Snapchat is. We have 98 million daily active users in the United States, and also the age. I think Snap is frequently thought of as really being a younger platform, but the reality is that over 50% of our audience in the United States is now above the age of 25, and almost a third is above the age of 35. So when it comes to really key categories for lead gen businesses, whether that be automotive, whether that be personal finance, whether that be in automotive, et cetera, that's going to be really important for that category. Snap has the users in that sector that you're looking for and are valuable. And then second, being the solutions. We've really doubled down on our overall conversions business to be both inclusive of e-commerce and lead gen, and have a full suite of solutions to drive excellent results on a cost per lead basis, particularly with native lead forms now coming in at a 39% lower cost per lead for people using that solution to drive really good cost per lead. So those two items are why Snap not only, isn't typically thought of as being a lower funnel platform, but why the people who know are shifting their dollars into that segment, and why we're seeing the overall landscape move down the funnel there.
It feels like there's a greater emphasis being placed on lead quality. How is Snapchat helping ensure that leads are high quality and actually convert for advertisers?
That is a really good question. We get that a lot. That frequently comes up, particularly when we're talking about any platform's native solution, whether that be that Facebook Instant Leads, our native lead gen solution as well. So twofold, it starts with that audience. Like we said, we have an audience that's valuable and relevant for a lot of the key categories and industries that are going to be representative within the lead gen business. And then 2, how we're actually executing that. So our lead gen business is twofold. 1, we can drive users to a website after viewing any of the video ads that you'll see in chat. And from there, you have your own website that you're able to utilize all of the optimizations that you've put, countless resources into ensuring that people are going to be converting there. And then secondly, we have a native lead solution that's delivering really quality results, where within the app, we're able to do some autofill solutions for a really seamless experience. We've really worked on that because that's the area where I think has a negative stigma towards the lead quality that you're getting from that advertising. So a couple of items that we've done to make sure that we can deliver lead quality as well as lead quality, quantity and efficiency is expanded capabilities of that form. So not only are you going to be able to have, name, you can now have more location details, zip code, any job categories we have there as well, job title, company, things along those lines. And then on top of that, we have 8 custom questions within that form that you can utilize. So say you are, an auto dealer. You can say, when would you be looking to purchase a new car? Are you looking to lease or purchase? What type of vehicle? If that's going to be education, what term are you interested in? What program are you interested in? So really, generating some intent early with those forms has delivered a lot of quality late for advertisers. And then also in terms of the actual optimization engine that powers this system, we now actually have a volume versus intent option where advertisers can actually select, we would like more quality versus lower total cost per. So very top of mind. It's something that we're very thoughtful about when we're designing our lead gen solutions to ensure that we're hitting that need for customers.
Well, thank you for that. Let's circle back to the results of that poll real quick. Blair, if you'll push those on the screen for us. There we go. Okay, seems like most people are using it primary, secondary, and none for not a focus. So glad everyone's at least modernized in that aspect of lead gen. Gabe, I promise we're going to let everybody else speak, have no fear. But Gabe, I have one more follow-up in regards to that. As more companies add social media to their lead generation mix, and it seems like most of our attendees are, what changes in consumer behavior like mobile first or short-form engagement are shaping how lead gen works on your platform, Snapchat?
Great question. So you got to engage with the folks to get them their attention, right? That is such a key focus. And, Snapchat is going to be very similar to many other mobile platforms. We are mobile only. We are centered around static video or static assets and video because that's what people send on the platform. So if you're going to engage with people on the platform, we really need you to do it in a way that they're comfortable with. So from a creative strategy, it's very important to adhere to that. So the key thing is the core value prop on any creative best practice on Snapchat, and honestly, this applies to other social media as well, is you want to get that message out quickly. The attention span realistically is 3 to 5 seconds. So you have to deliver that value prop as to why that user should convert, why they should be interested, why they should engage with your brand very quickly. There's a couple of ways that we're able to, drive that using creative. One, those videos do a tremendous job. We really recommend UGC testimonial style, assets. That's going to give us a little bit of extra native capacity in terms of what people are engaging with on the platform, give you a little bit of extra time to deliver that message before the ad fatigue sets in. And then 2, especially for lead gen businesses, we really recommend trying to use statics as well. You'll hear a lot about video from other social platforms, but with the core best practice of getting that message out super quickly, the static naturally has that. Everything that somebody would need to know about your business is going to be communicated from what we call second zero, so that user is able to ingest, understand that value prop, and be able to decide if they want to engage with you instantly. So that's really important as well. Those are the 2 capacities that we really recommend to make sure that you are engaging with users at the level that they are to drive that engagement and ultimately the results that you'll need for your business.
Thank you. And apologize for Emma unintentionally being the star of the show right now in the center screen. We're working to get that fixed right now. But Going to you, Ryan, how do you see brands adapting to these challenges Gabe was just discussing? Are you seeing social platforms being fully integrated into lead generation strategies now?
That's interesting. Actually, Gabe touched on a couple of points that are very relevant, I believe, as well. So, I mean, consumers are changing. We have smaller windows to get people's attention. There's a high volume of competition that are receiving a lot of messages, and there are a lot of messages being served to these consumers. And so it's never been more important to have an agile and effective content team. So to produce high quality, relevant content that's geared towards creating conversion and focused intent. Where channels are continually evolving and supporting on is really finding those high converting audiences. Brands, however, to touch on the second portion, they're utilizing more channels in their offerings. Traditionally, Meta and Taboola is where you went for volume, but we're finding more and more success with some of the new channels like Snapchat, where intent has moved from viewing videos to making actions, so clicks, conversions, things of that nature.
Emma, now that you're no longer center stage star of the show, let's at least give you a question to answer now. I can move you back to the middle if need be. From a compliance and quality standpoint, how does this trend towards social performance change the risk and opportunities for marketers?
Yeah, absolutely. So social channels provide a huge opportunity. You can reach really engaged audiences really quickly and at scale. But sometimes that speed can lead to risk, both in compliance and quality, if those things aren't really factored in from the start. So quick compliance check, always make sure that your TCPA statement on your forms follows best practices, make sure that that's there, and then be really thoughtful about how those leads actually into your funnel. So at AP, we've got a couple of tools to help with this. One is LeadsBridge, which we'll chat more about today, but you can send the leads directly into your CRM, pass conversion signals back, and keep the campaigns on your social channels really responsive. And then you can even take that a step further by layering in Lead Conduit to filter, validate, enrich, and route those leads in real time. So that makes sure that your teams are really only working on high quality, actionable leads. And you can also scrub them against DNC lists or known litigators to reduce your TCPA exposure.
Before we keep going, we had a question that came through, and I think this really goes to you, Gabe. The question is from Jessica Anderson. How do you determine high intent customers? Do you utilize offline conversions?
Great question. So there's going to be a myriad of ways that we're able to execute with, or making sure that we get the high intent customers. Signal is really the biggest thing. And when I say signal, I mean our Pixel and Conversion API, as well as our CRM integrations, right? We have almost 100 million daily active users. So the big question really is, how do we match the right person with the right offer at the right time to get them to convert and have that intention? So we have a lot of data from, the activity of our users, as well as, in the app, as well as on websites, et cetera. So when we have that good signal from an advertiser or a brand, right? So if that Pixel or Conversions API or CRM is sending us data regarding what that conversion looks like and what that activity is going on, we're able to really accurately say, is this relevant to the audience, or is this relevant to this person? And who else might this be relevant to? And from there, that's how our whole optimization algorithm is set up. So it's really important that we have good signal. That's one of the reasons that actually our native lead gen forms work so effectively, is that a lot of that is maintained within the Snapchat app. So when somebody is going to be submitting an automotive lead, an education lead, when they're putting in details regarding, those custom questions, we're able to understand that and then find similar people for that to deliver to that business.
Let's take this conversation from a foundational perspective. Ryan, how do you approach building a strategy from the ground up, starting with choosing the right audience and platform?
Yeah, so this is it's an interesting process no matter what you're really doing in business. It all starts with the consultation process. So first step, we need to understand the important needs of our client. Some may have a specific need, some may have preferences for their brand, some leave it up to us for either case. But it includes things, but not limited to, things like the type of vertical or industry or business that they're in, the service that we're advertising, their ideal customer profile, or their target audience. They're understanding their limitations or client requirements based on some of their goals. Some of the important first steps. Second step, we bring it all back with our in-house marketing and strategic teams. So they'll provide input on the overall parameters of the campaign, the target, the audience, and which platform to start with and which to grow into. And then really the third step is the implementation of it. So, I mean, in short, it all depends on the specific business.
What kinds of creative and messaging are driving the strongest conversion rates right now? I mean, as a content strategist, I'm very interested in your answer here.
So there are two sides of this. Both of them are different. So on one side, nothing changes. You need a strong offer. This will drive value down the funnel. You need to create urgency to drive conversion, focused intent, so not clicks. You do this with transparency and trust. You need to show relevant, high-quality content. But, and this is the second part, is that is adaptive to your audience and constantly evolving.
I think that's one of the hardest things to keep up with in any industry, specifically, is just that adaptation, staying relevant, staying on top of it. And that's going to lead us perfectly into our second poll question of the day. What is the biggest challenge you face when building a performance-driven social strategy? Audience targeting, creative and messaging, budget allocation, measuring ROI, hitting internal KPIs. Again, please get your votes in now, and we'll circle back to those results in a few minutes. Gabe, once again, while people are voting, which Snapchat ad formats are proving most effective for lead generation, and why do you think those are the most effective?
Great question. So I would say it is going to be our base ad unit, which is called a Snap ad. Sometimes you'll see it in the ad platform referred to as single image or video ads. This is going to be a full screen 9:16 static or video, going to be comparable specs to Instagram Reels, TikTok assets, etc. And why this is so effective is this is able to really quickly deliver that message that we're talking about. Same thing with what Ryan is talking about of like, what is the offer? What is the value prop? Making sure that we're getting it to them quickly and effectively in a full screen format. And then for them to be able to take action from that. Like we mentioned earlier, users are going to be able to take that, either to the website, they'll be able to go to a native lead form at the discretion of the advertiser setting up the campaign. And then, like we said, we've got all of the optimization engines to make sure that we're finding that right person, matching that creative to them, and ultimately getting that conversion cost per that was needed. One more thing, I realized I didn't answer the question if we had offline conversions. Yes, our conversions API is both online and offline.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back to that. I noticed it earlier, and I was like, well, we'll see if he brings it around.
Yeah.
I figured you would. As for the playbook, how do you actually effectively execute campaigns on Snapchat?
Great question. We have a self-serve ad platform that advertisers are able to utilize, complete with all of the tools that they will need to find and convert their proper audiences. We generally recommend, we're talking about audience targeting as one of the polls. I don't know if it's up yet in terms of it being one of the challenges. We recommend going with a rather broad audience. Right? This is going to allow us to have wider range in identifying the folks that are going likely to be able to convert on your offering based off of, like we talked about, all of that data points and all of that signal that we have and that we're collecting. And that having that wider base not only gives us wider range, but it also typically lowers the CPMs that you're going to have in that campaign so that you're able to actually, serve more ads at a more effective rate and ultimately get that cost per that you need. Other than that, like we said, combination of static and video assets. And then from a bid perspective, we have what we call target cost bidding. So we recommend that advertisers utilize a target cost bid that's approximately 20% higher than their true goal. So if you want a cost per lead of $10, we recommend placing that at 12 in the platform. And it does a really good job of regulating itself so that it's going to spend your full budget if we're hitting your KPI target. And if we're not going to waste your money in the process.
Emma, once those leads start flowing in, what should marketers be doing in real time to assess and act on lead quality?
Yeah, so earlier I talked about being thoughtful about how these leads are actually entering your funnel. So again, make sure you've got proper consent to contact, scrub for known litigators, regularly keep checking that database against the DNC list. And then once the leads start flowing, you need to be really proactive. So if you're a current lead conduit user, maybe you should set up a flow to catch invalid or duplicate contacts. And then start to combine those early signals with pipeline data, sales team feedback, and then get a really holistic view on what's working and what's not. It's a lot of data to be looking at. So having the right systems, having reports that can show you the channels that are performing, the campaigns are performing. Sometimes that might sound like a lot. So if that does sound like a lot, you're not alone. A lot of brands actually don't choose to run their own campaigns, or maybe they do a bit unbranded, but they partner with agencies like Leads.io because they're experts in testing new channels and optimizing those campaigns. If you're running them directly, having a really strong relationship with the teams at your marketing partners and making sure that you've got that feedback loop, that's really going to be critical. And I'll let Gabe touch on that a little bit more.
Let's circle back to our last poll question. Blair, if you can push those on the screen for us. Oh, wow. I love when we get mixed results like this. So the question again was, what is the biggest challenge you face when building a performance-driven social strategy? Leader in the clubhouse is measuring ROI at 28%. Tied for second right behind that is budget allocation, hitting internal KPIs, then audience targeting, and then creative messaging. So I like to see a nice diverse range of answers there. And speaking to that, I'll open this question up to everyone. What are your top tips for optimizing campaigns once they're live, whether that's creative, targeting, or budget allocation? Let's start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. So something we're very proud of at Leads.io is we are a leading tech-enabled agency. And we've committed very heavily into creating proprietary software to allow us to optimize in the most effective way. So when you mean creative, targeting, and budget allocation, none are more important than the next. We're able to combine all the data points to identify what is the most effective way to deliver the high-quality lead.
Gabe?
Yeah, I would say one of the things we really recommend, so say you've got that base best practice that I mentioned. We're going broad relative to your target area. I saw somebody question like regionality. Like, of course, if you've got a geographic constraint or you need to like deliver certain budgets to certain markets, like we have all of those features to do so, and we recommend making sure you're staying within the sandbox that you want to be within. From there, we really recommend segmentation, kind of like what Ryan was talking about. So if you're getting a lead quality or monetization that's like higher in certain segments, we can start to break those out, right? So if perhaps it's going to be income based, perhaps it's going to be geography based or other like, demographic information, let's start to break those out so that we're going to be able to say, okay, leads delivered here are worth X. Right. And then we can actually pay a little bit more for them than leads delivered from this sector are worth Y. Right. And then so we can use that same target cost bidding method to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to pay $13 from here, but I'm willing to pay $8 from here, and then scaling your budgets within those so that you're going to have actual results based off of your real monetization and not just a total lead cost.
Snapchat offers native lead forms. How do these help ensure the data being collected respects privacy concerns and is still high quality?
Yeah. So, this is so important to us. Snap at its core, like privacy is kind of what we're all about. We started as like a more encrypted video messaging service than other solutions on the market. And like we've retained that all the way through. So, a couple of key features that we have with those native lead forms. One, they're in adherence with all of our security standards at large, which are top of the mark when it comes to the industry. So that's really important. Two, we have disclosures within the actual form where you can actually make sure that somebody is checking a box saying, hey, I am submitting this. And then finally, the retention, we keep that to 90 days to maintain compliance and making sure that we have everything we need, but very important to us. And it's going to be continued top of mind as things develop.
Ryan, how does data routing through tools like LeadsBridge help keep everything synced and usable across multiple platforms?
Yeah, certainly. I know Emma touched on this briefly earlier today, but it really helps in 5 ways. A real-time sync for real-time data. It passes conversion signals. It helps with the automation of workflows, the cross-platform usability, and it keeps campaigns responsive. So really, kind of in short, it ensures all the data is in the right place at the right time.
Emma, thankfully, you were not put back in the middle of the screen following our last poll. But speaking of LeadsBridge and Active Prospect as a whole, why is consent-based marketing more important than ever when it comes to social lead gen?
Yeah, so TCPA lawsuits are on the rise. Class actions have actually more than doubled year on year. And a big driver of those is actually SMS-related violations. A lot of companies are using SMS messaging more and more. So that's something that we definitely want to keep front of mind. I talk to people all the time who think that their first-party lead gen efforts are completely safe from TCPA litigation and it doesn't expose them to any risk. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. So it's not just about capturing the opt-in. You need to make sure that you've got safeguards in place. So you're scrubbing against known litigators, again, checking for the DNC list, keeping that data up to date. And at the end of the day, it's not just protecting you legally. It also makes sure that you've only got the highest quality leads that your team is reaching out to. When you're reaching out to people who actually want to hear from you, it's going to drive better engagement and ROI.
What processes or tools do you use, Ryan, to ensure that the leads you generate and pass along to clients are clean, verified, and most importantly, legally compliant?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Firstly, all of our leads are captured by us, so we know where they're coming from. We certify all of our leads. Many of our clients utilize Trusted Form as well, obviously Active Prospect. Secondly, there are nuances in each type of vertical or industry. So we strictly follow all industry regulations, include all necessary privacy policy language needed to stay compliant. So including kind of what Emma was alluding to, any contacting the lead type of language or data privacy language. It'll vary depending on industry and their regulations, but all of that needs to be included in there to protect yourself.
All right, final thoughts before moving into a rather robust Q&A section as they start to pile up. If there was one thing you want attendees to take away from today's session, what would that be? I want to hear from all of you, but let's start with Gabe on this one.
Yeah, I would say that this audience in particular has such an advantage, with the tools that Active Prospect and the macro gives you to be able to safely, effectively drive leads. With Snap particularly, we're now fully integrated with LeadsBridge to be able to automate those from those Snap campaigns that we've been talking about directly into your CRM, right? That's a really simple setup. So from here, you have those tools. And making sure that you have the partners, whether that be the social partners, whether that be our agency partners, whether that be the tech partners, to have that triumvirate that's going to enable you to drive those effective results. This is really going to be an amazing place for you. And this is a wheelhouse that you're really well taken care of on all of those standpoints.
Ryan or Emma?
So main takeaway from me, testing new channels and lead sources is a great way to unlock growth. And sometimes staying ahead of the competition means that you need to try something different. So having the right tech on the back end gives you that confidence you need to experiment, especially knowing that you're going to get quick insights about that performance and you can make those optimization decisions. And of course, partnering with the right teams.
Last but not least, of course, main takeaway is the performance marketing landscape is constantly evolving. Smaller windows to capture people's attention, smaller windows to convert. Find the right partners, build trust, be transparent, be agile.
If you haven't gotten your questions in for the panelists yet, there's still some time. Just be sure to use the questions tab on the right so they don't get lost in the chat. All right, let's dive into a few of these right now. And I want to start with this one here. It has an upvote with it. How can companies better collaborate with platforms like Snapchat or intermediaries like Leads.io to optimize performance?
I can start on the Snap side. You all have a link to book time to chat with me directly here. We want to partner with you. We want to provide you the service. We want to have the consultative discussions on how can we, not only, generate effective business for you. How do we continue to do that? How do we do that in tandem with partners? So we're here. we're available, and like we want to chat with you, and we want to figure out how to partner best.
Yeah, from our side, we're very transparent with companies. We're talking with them. We will be very specific and open of what we need for a successful campaign. Regardless where the parameters lie, performance feedback is imperative to optimize the campaigns. Your success is our success, as they say.
A next question here from an anonymous user. How do you keep targeting broad if you need certain budgets in certain markets? I believe this is to you, Gabe.
Yeah, I kind of touched on this again, like when I was saying, hey, broad targeting, that's going to be relative to any constraints that you have, right? So if you're going to specifically need, whether it's franchise locations that need to have specific budgets to each of them, yes, of course. Like we're going to respect that. We've got, you can do outside of any like housing lending or education campaigns, our targeting capabilities go to like 600 feet. So you can do like any geographic, any psychographic targeting that like you need. And we recommend that. So that broad targeting approach is more of a within the sandbox that you're going to be operating.
Ryan, I think this one is good for you because you've touched on agility and staying up to date, staying modern. How often should brands rotate creative to prevent ad fatigue?
It's always an interesting question as we're asked these. Time is relative. I mean, this is where going back to performance feedback is important. Or I know there was one of the poll answers of how do I measure ROI? If you measure it from all the funnel metrics, from your set rates to whether it's consultations, and depending on the vertical and how the end of the funnel can change. But the long short of it is the better performance indicators that you have, it can give you better feedback as to when changes are needed, or if or when changes are needed per se. So time is going to be relevant. If it's working, don't break what's not broken. But if it is, you'll know that way.
Here's another good one. What are some of the biggest compliance risks in social lead gen today, and how can marketers work to avoid those?
Yeah, I can take this one. So I think they're the same risks that we have in generating leads across any channel, but it's really making sure that you've got the right TCPA consent for any of the activities that you're doing. Make sure that's really clear and explicit, and then make sure that you're actually adhering to proper practices when you're contacting those leads. So again, scrub against known litigators. Make sure that you're constantly checking your data against the DNC list to see if any of those contacts have added their information to that. Making sure that you are properly opting out people if they request to opt out from marketing messages. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the TCPA litigation we're seeing right now involves SMS messaging. So if you're a brand that has incorporated that or is just starting to incorporate that, or maybe just your sales team has started doing it on their own and it's not even done in a programmatic way, make sure that your team is aware of those regulations and that you're not getting yourself into trouble.
Okay, we are flying through these, but there's still more coming in. What are some underutilized targeting methods that are working well right now?
I can jump in on that. We love the lookalikes, right? Lookalikes are really phenomenal if you're able to have a seed list of customers that have been successful leads, or through the pixel. That tends to work really well. Geo-targeting is something that's one of Snap's specialties. We have a really high rate of users having their location on at all times, and our average opens per day is now 50x. So we've got a lot of geo data, and a lot of that visitation informs like our actual first party targeting. The joke I always make is you could like every healthy eating blog on the planet on Facebook, but if I catch you at McDonald's 5 times a week, like you don't belong in that category. So actually using visitation data to power a lot of that targeting versus just like viewership data is something that separates us and we find really successful as well.
I think just to add kind of I'll say a different perspective per se. Sometimes overcomplicating the targeting can be overutilizing, or I've lost the right term here. as we go. But I mean, keeping it simple can be underutilized. People think they have to get really granular with it. They have to look for the targeting, and it can impact the campaign overall in various different ways as well. So it's really dependent on what the end goal is. Simple, sometimes better.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I didn't want to have to say broad targeting one more time, but it's really like it's what works. Like the AI optimization engines, like even in the last couple of years, like with how good the AI optimizations are getting, like letting it do it for you really is the best technique. I know we want to be really hands-on and we think that we got to get hands-on with those optimizations, but you set your signal up right, either because you have a solid integration with the CRM like Snap and Leads Bridge, whether you've got your pixel set up properly, conversion API online or offline, and then, let the big tech do its thing.
I had a football coach once give me the acronym KISS, that stands for keep it simple, stupid. And while I resent the final word there, the point remains even today. Another question came through here. Any insights on industry standard social metrics that you can share?
So it really depends on which industry. If we're talking from the performance-based, I assume from that standpoint, it'll really be dependent on what vertical, what industry. Happy to get into kind of the conversations and what we're seeing. It might need to be more on a more specific forum, as we've got a wide range of industries on the webinar today. So it'll vary quite a bit.
Next question here. How has audience targeting evolved in the face of privacy changes like iOS updates and third-party cookie deprecation? I can't pronounce that word very well.
I can kick that one off. I mean, that was a major update. I would say the industry is about recovered to where we were when that all started, right? So I would say 2 years ago, this was a much, bigger problem. But I think that, we've come around and we've really identified ways that we can be privacy centric while delivering excellent results with, different data points. Won't nerd out exactly on all of those, but a little bit of an evolution of like, here's how, folks are being identified, and how we're able to identify here's not only from a measurement perspective, who's actually engaging and converting on your ads, as well as how do we make sure that we're putting them in the proper targeting groups to make sure that your ad spend is being delivered effectively and efficiently.
Yeah. I mean, to add as well, it really depends on where your leads are coming from. Like our leads are first party data. So there are other sources that companies utilize that would be more impacted by this than others. So it all depends on where the lead source is and comes in. But that'll be the biggest impactor. It depends on where they're coming from, will be the biggest involvement.
Next question here. What metrics matter most when measuring social lead gen performance?
This is an interesting one. I have a feeling this one might have been directed this way, but for us, it's really mostly based on what the client is evaluating us on. That's what matters to us most. We have some companies that are appointment-based where, hey, Ryan, this is what we need to hit from an appointment level. Lead to appointment is what I mean. And that's all I care about. Some are focused on market share indicators. Some are obviously very focused on cost of marketing or cost per sale, somewhere in there, or ROAS. And so it really depends, and is opinion based on what matters most. I think we can all agree at the end of the day is it worth the ROI in return overall? Are they getting the revenue that they're looking for from whatever type of program that we're running?
Now, I believe we have a follow-up question to one we touched on just a second ago, Ryan. So coming back to you, to the question of any insights on industry standard social metrics you can share. With the follow-up was home improvement specific social metrics.
Yep. So still vary within home improvement a little bit. So whether we're talking to a window company, roofing company, patios, bath, and everything in between. The general rule of thumb, again, depends a little bit on the strategy of the campaign. Will likely be anywhere from a lead to close for simplicity, pretty comfortably between 3 to 6%, pretty consistently. So there may be some that are a little bit on the higher side based on their follow-up and conversion process. Some might be on the lower side, whether they're buying a lot of leads or their follow-up process may be X, Y, or Z that may be converting at a lesser rate, but generally and pretty darn consistently 3 to 6% lead to close.
All right. This is a good one to end on because it kind of brings us full circle here. If someone is just getting started with social lead gen, what's the one thing they should do first to set themselves up for success?
I can kick us off. I think it's twofold. I'm a little biased. I know everybody's sick of hearing me talk about signal. Like you need
Say broad targeting again.
Right. you need to know, you need to be able to measure, right? So whether that is even just as simple as downloading CSV files, like anybody in this audience, right? Like you got LeadsBridge connecting Snapchat, so you'll be able to port that into your CRM really easily. But like having a good sense of like, here's the end metric, right? Ryan, you were just talking about, it's all algebra moving backwards, right? Like it's all ROI at the end of the day. We can cut it up 5 different ways. Like you can do 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 = 10, or you can do 5 + 5, right? Like it just is a matter of that, but you need to know your steps and making sure that like you're getting to that end number and being able to circle that end number and have that communicated with any channels so that they can do the optimization. Broad targeting, it doesn't work if we don't have the data. Right. So this whole segment we've talked about of like, hey, do broad targeting, because as long as you're passing us the data, we're going to do the targeting for you and we're going to do it way better. And then second, what can you do to engage with the audience? So it's those endpoints. What is the end result in terms of your monetization? And what's your beginning point in terms of how do you engage with those audience? The middle can fill in any different ways. Right. But you need those two things to be able to ultimately drive the goal of like creating engaging things that are going to lead to good ROI.
Getting started in lead gen, understand the process from beginning to end before putting 2 feet in the pool. Understanding these are social leads where they aren't converting at an 80% from lead to sale type of thing. There's going to be a lot of effort at capturing the leads. Then they go through into the funnel of your call center or sales team calling them, which need to jump on quickly, which then obviously need to go through the process from setting appointments to demos to closing or whatever in between in terms of your references, depending on your vertical or industry. There's a lot of steps along the way that you need to, whether it be compliant on, that Emma was referring to earlier, as Gabe was talking about, where are you capturing them? How are you capturing them? You've got to be able to ingest them. How do you ingest them and how do you work them and convert them? Understand that first before jumping 2 feet in.
Yeah, I would also add, understand who you're targeting. Who is your ICP? Who are you trying to go after? And what success metrics are you actually looking for? And then above all, communicate that to the partners that you're working with so they're not flying blind. They want to make sure that they're seeing good results to show to you. So have that open line of communication, making sure that you're being transparent and that you've got the right infrastructure set up to actually run these campaigns.
And that's going to do it for us today. A massive thank you to Emma specifically for helping organize and drive the logistics of this webinar, and to Ryan for sharing his unique perspective and bringing some energy to this conversation. As well, thank you again to Gabe from Snapchat for taking time out of his busy schedule for joining us today. I know he's on quite the time delay across the country. If you would like to test Snapchat lead gen ads, please click the link in the chat, fill out the form, and see if you qualify for a special offer to get started today. As always, thank you to all of our attendees for spending some time with us. Literally, we could not do this without you. I encourage all of you to be sure to subscribe to our webinar series so you never miss an episode, like our next one in 2 weeks. Please mark your calendars and join us on October 8th for our first education perspective webinar, Engage, Nurture, Enroll, a Smarter School Funnel. This webinar will focus on how to improve your school marketing tactics from the first impression to final enrollment, and will feature your favorite moderator back in action. There will be a link in the chat to register now. Lastly, if you'd like to continue this conversation, please reach out to us via the pinned comment in the chat or by answering our latest poll question. Again, I'm Andrew Bailey. Have a great day. Embrace the power of broad targeting, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.